Welcome, paranormal enthusiasts, to this week's episode of Creepin' It Real, here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, where everyone comes for their paranormal fix. Real people, real stories, in real time. So glad you could join us for some ghostly gab. I'm your host, Eleanor Wagner.
Hello, world. As always, I appreciate you hitting the subscribe tab, follow button, or show app on your podcast of choice. Everybody give a hello shout out to our Coast to Coast techie Crispy Bacon. They'll be working hard tonight to help us run smoothly. Having had experiences since childhood, my first guest has embraced her skills as a medium, and with the help of her very supportive husband, has been able to take trips to investigate some of the most haunted locations in the country. They are thrilled to be able to share their stories in hopes of providing people with some peace of mind concerning mortality. Join me in welcoming Elizabeth and Steve Katz from His and Hearse Paranormal. Love that name. Very clever.
Thank you.
It looks
Hi.
like you guys get around. You've investigated some cool places.
We definitely have. Like you said, I've had experiences my whole life. When we got married, the first house we moved into definitely had some activity, and I tried to convince him of that. And at first, he just didn't know what to say.
Denial.
Like, you're nuts. No. But then he started hearing the footsteps upstairs when we were downstairs, and
The Barbie car.
the Barbie car,
That
yeah,
had no batteries that started moving.
on its own. Yeah, our daughter had a little Barbie Corvette, and it would start driving itself around the house.
You should have grabbed the camera out.
Yeah, I wish I had.
It's one of those
I
moments
wish I
you're like,
had.
"What was
I might put
thinking?"
batteries in it again and see if it'll do it again. But yeah, I would be upstairs and hear toys going off downstairs and look over the banister and see this little Corvette driving itself
Oh,
around the
so-
house.
Well, I always liked history. I was a big history buff. I liked visiting war museums, different things in the past. And I've always been kind of into the creepy stuff anyway. So it was kind of an easy transition. When she would tell me to, hey, let's go look at this place. Let's go do this place. And then I'd look into the history and I'd be like, oh, cool. That sounds like fun. So then we started, one place at a time. And then lo and behold, now seemingly it seems like half our trips or most of our trips will involve some form of,
Staying in a haunted location.
and some trips
Why
just all
not?
entirely.
Why not? You're getting a whole history lesson in the making, and you get to see historic sites and enjoy the spirits that reside there. No problem with that.
And it's
My
fun too,
favorite
because
place-
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it's fun too, just because we'll stay in some places where you're like, this place is beautiful just in its own right. And then we'll stay in some other places where I was like, I can see why somebody, axe murdered somebody in this place. So,
It's just, yeah, desolate and creepy. And
My favorite place in New Jersey is Cape May. It's this old Victorian town, and it's extremely haunted. And every time I go, I pick up the latest book on the local hauntings, and I go and visit some of them. So it's definitely an appeal to people these days. Well, when we're having technical difficulties before our reason for being late, to those of you who are tuning in, your husband said, because I had jokingly said maybe it's the spirits intervening and not letting us
yes,
get in touch. And he goes, well, with our house, it's no surprise. So are you also living in a haunted house now?
yes, we've got a lot of activity around here. My dad, at the very least, I know is with us.
Mhm.
And like I said, up until his death, I'd always been a believer anyway, and I'd had all these experiences. There was still just the slightest bit of, not doubt, but I'm logical, so I question everything.
Mhm.
When he passed away,
yes, you do.
everything. But when he passed away, And it was only about, let me think, it was almost 3 years ago now.
Years ago, yeah.
He died suddenly and left us with a lot of questions. So
Still unanswered on some of them.
yeah, some of them are still unanswered.
Like, where's the bird?
I don't know if that will ever get an answer to. But my biggest frustration was I wanted to get into his phone because I wanted to save all of his photos on there. He was a professional violinist, so I wanted to have those videos of him playing. And I could not figure out his passcode to get into his phone. And I tried multiple times a day. After a point, the phone started kicking me out. And I'd done absolutely everything I could for about a month trying to get into this phone, and I was just going crazy. So I eventually got out some dowsing rods and was like, okay, Dad, I need 4 numbers. Yeah. I was like, is your password 4 numbers? And they opened big for a yes. So then I said, okay, is the first one a 1? They opened for a yes. So I wrote that down. All right, is the next one a 2? Crisscross for no. Is it a 3? Yes. Wrote that down. And I kept that process going until I was able to get 4 numbers. Mm-hmm. And I plugged those numbers into the phone, and it unlocked. It unlocked.
There's 11 million potential combinations to get into that phone. And we have no idea what that number even represents. Even today, through all the readings and his journals, everything, we have no idea what that number represents to him. It was literally a crapshoot. Well, we had a table made. Our kitchen table is actually a seance table.
Okay.
We had it turned into a seance table.
So we eat on it too. So, why not, talk to everybody and eat dinner at the same time. So, but we actually put 1362 on the table to represent it.
That's nice. I'm sure that he's thrilled with that, because those visits from our deceased loved ones, they're not necessarily ghostly. Those are spiritual visits from our loved ones, and we get them all the time, including family pets that have passed on. They're always with us.
Yeah.
And I'm always telling people that when you get something like that, receive and accept it. You know what I mean? Because it can be a very soft nuance that you get. Just receive it and accept it. And what you did was just awesome. I love that.
Freaked me out.
I ran into the bedroom at 2 a.m. going, I got into the phone. And he was just shocked.
That was that was great. Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so now I have all his photos, all his videos.
That's wonderful.
All the stuff I was after.
That's great. And I'm sure he's thrilled because he knows that it happened, and he sees what you did with the table too. So that makes it very exciting.
Yeah.
You guys went to the Concord Colonial Inn in Concord, Massachusetts. I'm going to let the listeners in on a little history, and Chris is going to put the photo up at PC credit to the Concord Colonial. This 300-year-old beauty was built in 1716 and was used as a storehouse for arms and provisions during the Revolutionary War. Famous author Henry David Thoreau lived there while he went to Harvard, which is so cool because I had to write a story on Henry David Thoreau's life when I was in the 7th grade. So that's kind of cool. I'm curious to know about its paranormal history, if there is any. You want to share what that is and why you were led to go there?
Well, as I said, he likes to take me on haunted vacations. So he booked this trip in Massachusetts. And we went to several different haunted locations. This was just one of them. And it was
our last night.
It was the last one on our list.
It was actually our first, I think, full trip where we did the entire trip based on different locations. So we were in Boston, we were in Concord, we were in Salem for 2 nights.
We visited the Lizzie Borden house.
The Lizzie Borden house in Falls River. We stayed in the Axe Murder Room there. That was our first Axe Murder Room together.
So we eventually wound up at and we covered a couple of little things throughout the way, but the biggest thing was at Concord Colonial Inn. We stayed in room 24, which was the operation room during the Battle of Lexington and Concord. And so they used that room as an operating room. And unfortunately, not everyone who was operated on made it.
Most
So
in that time.
Yeah. And we just started clicking, taking pictures around the room, and just very nicely asked, if there's anyone here with us, can we please take your picture? And he took, I don't know how many, 20 photos.
I always
right
do rapid shot cameras without flash to try and see if it's in every picture, if you can recreate things, trying to more be the disbeliever than the believer, trying to, what went wrong if something shows up.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
And we took 15 shots of one area that was in the fireplace. And on one of the 15 photos, we got crystal clear face. It was, and not in the other 14. We tried to recreate it, and we ended up calling it Blue Man because after we, took the editing program to take the color out of the background, it stood out. Like, do you have that, or do we shift?
Oh, I sent it to her.
And it's just one of
those.
Is
that the one that you? Oh, for some reason I thought that one was from Maple Hill Manor. So the blue picture.
The blue, blue one is from. Yes, that one's from Concord.
So we took that photo. Now it wasn't original.
That. He can put it up. I just sent it back to him so he could put it up, because that is a really cool picture. You can distinctly see that face in there.
So clear. You can, you can even see teeth.
And again, it wasn't in any of the other photos. And it was, so I ended up, now that's the blue is after we have the original photo where it doesn't have blue and black, but you can still see the face perfectly clear. We showed that to Concord Colonial Inn when we left the next day, and the worker there, I don't think I saw a hair raise that fast in my life on any one person. She was just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
She's like, we've seen a lot of photos like orbs and all this other stuff in this room. We've never seen
anything like this.
And up until that time, too, this was probably the first thing I ever saw where I was kind of like, wow, I can't explain that at all.
No, because we tried to recreate it.
And I basically said to her, that was the first image we ever did. And it was on our first big trip that we took together. I said, that was the picture that made me skeptical of my skepticism. and it was, but yeah, that picture is pretty cool. And, we called it Blue Man now, but everybody I show that picture to, they're just like mind blown from it.
Oh, it's just so clear. I've never taken another ghost photo like that. That's the clearest one we have. Oh,
allowed me to feel like I contribute.
Hang out here with me right now.
She's so cute.
So she's giving me kisses. When you guys went to the Maple Hill, I'm sorry, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, go right ahead. You're good.
Did you want to say something else about the Colonial Inn?
No, just that I'm still just blown away by how crystal clear it is.
When you get pictures like that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I accumulate folders over time, the stuff that we catch on our team, or when I randomly get stuff, or when readers and people who read my books send them to me, and they're just amazing, some of the catches. It's just like, oh my God, that's a really great picture. And, people are skeptic out there. And whenever I do presentations, I say to them, I'm not here to convince you of anything.
Right.
You can take it as entertainment if you want. I know that it's real and that these things happened, and I didn't Photoshop or anything. So sharing them with you, but you can take it for whatever you want. So
yes, exactly. That's what we do too.
The Maple Hill Manor in Springfield, Kentucky, and Chris is going to put a photo up of the building too, and give Maple Hill Manor website credit. Beautiful house. I just love it. Thomas Irvine McElroy built this beautiful Greek revival plantation on 949 acres, and presented it as a wedding gift to his young bride, Sarah Jane Maxwell. And it boasts 13 original rooms, with its center point being this grand cherry floating spiral staircase. Its colorful past includes stories of an antebellum plantation, use as a Civil War Confederate encampment, and Union Field Hospital after the Battle of Perryville. Now, when you know it's been a hospital, like you mentioned earlier, Stephen, that people died and a lot of people died, so you probably have them hanging around, lurking around. It was the birthplace and childhood home to Phil Simms, believe it or not, the former New York Giants quarterback, and at one time a popular dinner hall and a foster children's home to over 300 children. Today it continues to be a bed and breakfast, which I love, for everyone to enjoy. What's the paranormal attraction here?
Well, for us, the most interesting thing was our interaction with one of the children who passed away there. The couple had 7 children, and I believe 4 of them passed away. One of them, unfortunately, passed away due to falling over the banister of the staircase. And I think the best thing we got all night, and we got stuff constantly. It was one thing after another with the spirit box. But the best thing we got was as we were going down the stairs at the end of the night, getting ready to wrap up our investigation, going down the stairs, I said, "Thank you for talking to us, guys." And clear as day, a child comes in and says, "You too." Just very childlike, right on the stairs, right where he probably fell.
And was that audio? Did you catch that on audio? Is that the one that you sent us?
Yes, that was yes, that was the spirit box clip.
Okay, I want Chris to be able to send it and put it up. That's the second one that I sent you, Chris, so we can listen to it, especially when they're really clear like that. That's the cool part of it.
It's so amazing when they're that clear.
Yeah, I love it.
Just like talking to someone living. It's crazy.
That house, the owners there are super nice.
They're really sweet.
I mean, they were just exceptional, good hosts there. We rented out the whole place during the night because we like to walk around and not disturb everybody if possible. And they do like the Phil Simms aspect. They have a signed football right in the walkway entry.
Sure.
But it's definitely it's a beautiful home. It's just really accommodating. There's a lot of different rooms in there. There's some almost there. That was the one with the rooms with there were slave quarters in the room.
There were slave quarters in the back. Yeah.
And you can go towards that. And we try to do some investigating in the slave quarters as well. But some nooks and crannies in there. There's definitely some rooms in there when you walk in there and you just have a different vibe in these rooms. And that seems to be
around the stairs. There's a definite vibe around the stairs. As soon as I walked in, the stairs hit me.
But yeah, they're always fun.
Hey, Chris, do you know which video that one is that I sent you that you could put up for us to listen to, please? I'm dying to hear it.
I'm getting it right now.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You sent me a picture too, Elizabeth. Another one that the face appears in between the 2 vines in a vase.
Oh, that's the Concord Colonial Inn as well. That was the original photo, but without.
That was the original photo.
Yes, okay. Yes, that's the original photo. Just no blue filter on it.
No blue man.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to show that to everybody too, so they can see the difference. But Chris is going to put up that audio for us. I think he was just getting ready to do that.
My face is asleep.
Wake it up.
Needs blood flow.
I'm still trying. I mean, I can.
We're experiencing technical difficulties this evening.
Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, sometimes we freeze and the internet can be crazy, but we really with our game today. I wonder if Spirit is intervening and not letting us.
Maybe.
Possibly.
You would think that
when you were saying in the intro on the Maple Hill Manor with the Battle of Perryville, so that battle was one of the largest battles in the Civil War. It was the largest one in Kentucky, and it was actually the last major battle in Kentucky, if I remember correctly. And there's a museum where you kind of walk the battlefield that's really close to that house. and you can get tours there. They walk around and they show you where these famous generals were shot, or they show you how the battlefield was played out. So it's really a
long tour.
It's a long tour. It was about an hour plus, hour and a half walking tour. I'd say a good mile or two of walking.
Yeah, it's a lot of walking.
But you can just watch how the field was and everything, and then you go back and you kind of see that connection. So I always really like to hear that aspect before we go and actually stay in these places. But
have
that
you ever
battle
had the
was.
opportunity to visit Gettysburg?
We haven't yet. That's on my list.
I haven't gotten to Pennsylvania yet, but it's on our list.
I want to get to Gettysburg.
Yeah, you guys, especially if you like the history aspect of it, it's amazing, and they have tours all over the place, and then they have night ghost tours going on to the battlefield. We can see the night lights. It's amazing, and there isn't a house that you go to that you don't enjoy the history and feel something. It's just an undeniable, palpable energy.
You feel it. Yeah.
You definitely do. We went, obviously, we took the kids and wanted them to learn the history of the battle and the lives that were lost. But I had to touch upon the paranormal aspect of it because that's just me.
Of course.
So.
Yeah. I've heard there's a lot of activity around there. I've heard a lot of stories. Definitely anxious to get over there someday.
Yeah, my colleague at work, she's from Pennsylvania, and I think she told me they used to do like field trips to that area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, spirits around day in and day out, so it really doesn't matter the time of day. And they've gotten some good catches in the daytime of soldier apparitions. In fact, a friend of mine, Bobby Gallo, was just there recently for one of like the paranormal events that they have at the hotels over there. I can't remember which one it was. It's something that they have every year, and this year he went there and was a presenter, and he took the time during the day with a bunch of people to go out in the fields and try and catch pictures, and he got his best photo ever of a full body apparition of a soldier.
Awesome.
And he was almost, he didn't believe it at first when he saw it. He was like, oh my God. Those aha moments are just what we do this for. You know what I mean? To get those catches. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and when you get those EVPs, that's just crazy too.
It really is. It's such a mind opener.
And I'm really sorry.
You're good.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm really sorry why we're experiencing difficulties like this. Even being able to talk about it is exciting. So
it is.
Well, it's always interesting too, because we'll stay at places. We'll go to the cities and stay in 5-6 different hotels in a week, and the ones we're expecting to experience the most, we get little to nothing, and then the ones we're thinking, okay, who knows, maybe.
That's where something really cool pops up.
We get Blue Man, And it's like the very night after we stayed at the Maple Hill Manor, we were at Waverly Hills for the night. And it was just me and her in that 5-story hospital, ex-hospital, I guess. And it was pretty quiet most of the time.
The second floor was most active for us. And the lady who, was giving us a tour, she did say that it kind of moves around. Different groups find things on different levels. And she said 2 nights ago, level 6 was real active. Before that, it was level 4. For us, it was level 2.
But even then, it was very, like, the scariest thing that happened in that hospital was when a bat jumped out at us.
that did creep us.
That scared the crap out of me, because we saw movement. We started walking closer thinking, what's that? And it was a bat, and the bat just jumped right in front of us.
Right over your head. Yeah.
That freaked me out more than anything in there. But it was just interesting, though, because every list tells us this is a top 5 scariest place in the country. And
we did get some stuff there.
It was pretty mild, though.
Well, you know what, that's what a paranormal investigation's like. I mean, you can go to a spot and have nothing happen, and go to another spot and have tons of stuff happening.
Everything.
Or wait, and then just have that one thing, and getting back to the Gettysburg thing, just to give you a heads up, if you go on an off season, you could
Mhm.
quite possibly get a spot in a home by yourself for the night. Because I've had team members do
Oh,
that where they waited till the season and went, and they were the
That's
only
what we
people,
would try to
which is kind of cool.
I was
All right,
thinking
Chris
about
says he thinks he's got it working.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
let's see if we can listen to that EVP.
With the raised thing, okay.
Wow.
the U2 at the end. U2.
Yeah.
It's so sweet
Goodness,
sounding.
so,
It made me feel so bad for him. Like, he
so
sounds so
clear.
sweet.
Really,
Her
oh my
empathy
goodness.
always shows up.
Yeah, it's so sad when you think about
Yeah,
it. You know
it,
what I
it
mean?
really is.
Yeah. Poor little thing. Well, he
Yeah.
seemed like he was happy, so I guess that's good, right?
He sounded, he
the
sounded cheerful and playful and friendly.
Yeah. The Oxford Hotel in Denver, Colorado, PC credit to the Oxford Hotel website. Chris is going to put that picture up.
Okay.
The arrival of railroads brought an influx of people to Denver, and in 1891, Frank E. Edbrook completed the Oxford Hotel. It has seen Denver through high and low moments, persevering through it all. Noted on its website, it began with the elegance of Gilded Age and adapted to the changing world, from the Art Deco stylings of the 30s, tourism boom of the 50s, to major renovations in the 80s. And it is true reflection of Denver throughout the history. Now, that picture that he just put up is the photo to the original blue picture that you guys showed us earlier, just so everybody knows. And the picture that's
And
going
then
up
if
now
you,
is a picture of the, sorry?
I was to say with that picture,
What
if
were you
you
going to say?
zoom in between those decorative plants, like there's a
That's where the face
decorative
was.
plant there. Yeah. And then there's kind of some sticks. One goes this way, one goes that way. And the face is kind of like hiding
Right.
behind that decorative plant.
Sometimes it's really hard to catch those faces. There's the Oxford Hotel for everybody that was just
familiar.
listening to
Yeah.
But when you're taking those pictures and you take them like in successions of 3, like 1, 2, 3, sometimes you'll get something in the first picture, not the second picture, or in the second picture, not the third picture. You know, it just is random. But when you have like a camera full of like 100 pictures and you got to sit there, you really have to be patient enough to look for that face. And when you get a catch like that, it's amazing. And then when you're able to enhance it like you guys did with that blue filter, it's just incredible. When you were at the Oxford Hotel, though, you said you also got some great EVPs that you shared with us. You want to talk to us about that?
Yeah. So the history in this room that we stayed in was a woman. So a couple was having an affair. They checked into this hotel room, and the woman ended up shooting the man before turning the gun on herself and shooting herself.
Don't get any ideas.
The idea, I believe, is that there was some sort of dispute over money, and he went to leave the room. I think he said she was asking for money. He said, he refused her. He said no, and then he went to leave the room. And as he was walking out the door, she shot him. So he ended up in the hallway right outside the door, and he was taken to the hospital and later died at the hospital of his wounds. She, however, passed away instantly right there in the room. And the very first thing I got when turning on the spirit box was I was shot right off the bat. Very first thing, sounds male to me. And even though he didn't pass away there, maybe it could be residual if he was in the hallway sitting there screaming, I was shot. Or, maybe he found his way back there somehow anyway, since that's where the incident took place, or could be totally unrelated, I suppose. But it is interesting that the first thing.
you remember what the time frame was when you were
I
doing
know
the
it was in the
historical?
1800s. It was the
Okay.
1800s. And so, yeah, the very first thing I got right off the bat was I was shot.
And Chris is going to put that audio up. Hopefully we don't have any trouble. We have 2 audios that you brought with you from that hotel. And the first one is the one that's where he says, I was shot.
Okay.
So hopefully we can listen to it. The other one that you have, what's that one all about?
Well, I kind of think maybe I sent over 3, so I'm not sure which other one you may have saved.
Oh, okay.
One
shoot.
of them, one of them I got.
We may not
got-
get them in order, but it's okay. If we don't have them in order, at least we get to listen to them.
Okay.
That's what they're about. Okay, go ahead. Explain.
Anyway, one of them, he passed out. He was exhausted.
I'm very good at that.
He was. We brought the kids with us, so we were just wiped out from touring Colorado with the kids all day, and he passed out. So I went into the bathroom and just used the spirit box on my own, and I heard a woman singing, not just through the box, but like with my own ears.
Oh.
And it was loud, really loud, and the whole room almost vibrated as she was singing.
Mm.
It was really intense. It was super intense, and I wish you were awake for that. But I
didn't come up.
Yeah.
She knows not to do that.
Yeah. You're scarier than she would have been if I wake you up. But it was really intense. The whole room just vibrated, and there was this loud singing. So I was happy that the spirit box did pick that up a little bit. Through the box, it's not as intense as what I heard with my ears, but it is there. And then in another clip I sent, I think I got the name Mark, and that was super clear. I just reiterated his name. It's just like, okay, Mark. And then he said,
you were able to trace it back in history, huh?
Yeah,
Imagine
I would love to be able to like get a list of anybody who worked there or.
Well, that's one thing I love about, going to these places. Even though we read up on the history, and when we book places, we're always booking the famous rooms and and trying to know about it. But we go into it with that open idea, though, is we're not just expecting to hear whatever everybody says, because
it could
like
be anything.
Conquer Colonial Inn's 307 years old. A lot of crap could have happened in that time. That's not just Revolutionary War. So we try to just see what happens, and then see if there's a connection to the past or not. But oftentimes it's just a random, thought, and it's kind of just an interesting aspect of it. Because one thing I always see is I always found it kind of, ironic that every time you hear about a historical place and their famous history, well, this was a Civil War place, so everybody they catch always seems to be a soldier. This is a Revolutionary War place. Everybody seems, this was a hospital. It's always disembodied people. Like, it's like you hear a lot of these things, and that doesn't mean there's not aspects to it, but we're always at the idea that it could be a lot of other things there too.
It could be someone modern. It could be someone who just passed away.
And we kind of go into it with a very open mind that way.
Having written 4 books on true account hauntings, I've spoken to people who work in the hospital arena, and I actually had to have a chapter on those hospital haunts, because people that work as nurses and doctors, and even the people who clean the hospitals, they have some crazy stories to talk about, because they're constantly experiencing.
Always around it.
Yeah.
Always around
it. And always around those that come back. In fact, I spoke to a person who does cleansings, and she said, I'm always cleansing the hospitals, always, because they constantly need to be cleansed, because it's just this cycle, never ending.
And you walk into a hospital too. It's a heavy energy, and you feel it right away.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
how many people out there just say, you know, oh, I don't want to go to the hospital because I just don't like the feeling.
And then you get the
Yeah.
bill.
Well, yeah. And
Well,
then
I'm
really-
sure people like yourself who are extremely sensitive feel it a lot more. I mean, I'm sensitive, but not to the extent that some of the members of my team are. And they get really affected by
Mhm.
things like that. Or if we go to a murder scene or a building that has lots of trauma, it really affects them that they can't stay there for very long. Sometimes they even get nauseous and want to just leave.
Yeah.
Um, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. It's heavy.
So what are your plans now in the future? You have any goals about where you're going to go next, or like a list? This is the order that we've got.
Well, I'm kind of like you. I've been writing stories based off of my experiences. So I am writing books, whether they'll get published or not, I don't know. But I'm doing that, and then, you know, as many more haunted locations as we can go to, we'll check those off. And I mean, my big thing is, especially since losing my dad and having that validation from him, I don't know, it's really helped me to grieve. So I don't know. I would like to help people with that.
I mean, in the
Was
future,
just the grieving
in the
process.
future aspect, I mean, basically, I say to her, where do you want to go next? She tells me, oh, this city looks like fun. And then I start researching the cities. And then, I mean, I only do it if I can get the rooms we want. And so sometimes it's difficult to piece them all together.
Sure.
As this hobby, as this life, as this, you know, paranormal stuff, as this stuff has gotten more popular, unfortunately, the hotels have also raised their prices to match up with that. So places
Yeah.
we used to be able to stay for $100 are now $300-400. So we don't always love that aspect.
No, that's pretty sad. It really is.
It's sad, but we get it also. But it's like, because we did 3 nights at the Stanley Hotel and those places, like we stayed in the Stephen King room. We stayed in, what was it, 217?
The Cowboy Room.
Yeah, like we stayed in the 3 most famous rooms there. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 20. God, too many numbers in my head.
I know.
And but we stayed in the 3 most famous rooms there. And I mean, just those 3 nights ran me about $2,000. And again, for the experience, it's a lot of fun to say you did that. But it was like, it's a lot of money to do some of these things.
At the same time, you could go to Scotland or something.
Exactly. But basically, we find cities and then we kind of research it. We find the most haunted rooms in those cities and try to plan trips around it. We don't have any cities planned right now, but we usually do 1 or 2 a year. So we just haven't planned 2024 yet. We do. We
cool things around town.
We know we're scheduled to do a Tombstone tour in April, where we're going to be hosting some famous places in Tombstone, Arizona. We're not sure. Last year we did a haunt there during their event at the Paracon, in which we were at Big Nose Kate's for one of those things, and then we were asked to do a few different things while we were there.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was fun. Yeah.
Keep this in mind, though. You don't have to go to well-known haunts.
Correct.
You can just go
Correct.
to an old bed and breakfast, and I promise you, it'll be haunted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Come to Sussex County, New Jersey. There's a lot of bed and breakfasts here that are in old, circa 1800s, and they're all haunted. And even if you go to like the little shops, they're haunted. So
I'm
you can
sure.
have easy experience and not pay that hefty price.
Exactly. No, we are doing a one in February for charity, actually, where it's going to a fire department, and we offer to do a hunt with people that have never done it before. So it's an auction.
Show them how to use it.
Show them what equipment we have, how to use it, what it means. And we're actually doing it at a year-round Halloween store in Arizona. And
so that'll be fun.
And it's the owner there is really cool. And like there's a lot, it's almost like a shop where there's like 50 different vendors in there selling different homemade stuff. But the owner also brings in a lot of very real historical stuff. He's got Ouija boards. He's got skulls and bones. He's got oddities, stuff used in tribal wars. dolls that are known to be haunted. So he's got a lot of very cool stuff in there. So we're doing a hunt in February at his location there. And we're going to be doing that with people who have never done this before. So it's always fun to do that with people who've never done it.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. All right. I think Chris is ready for us to listen to that audio. So
Okay.
let's keep our fingers crossed that we get to hear it right now.
Right there, I was shot. I was
And
shot.
she said it like, I was shot.
Yeah, I was shot. Real quick.
Yeah.
I was shot.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Chris, did you get another one that you could put up? I don't know if you were able.
Mark? Hi, Mark. I'm Liz. Did you say see ya? Mark, are you the guy that Florence killed? There's a lot of stuff here.
There was a lot of stuff in that one. So first we get his name, Mark. And then he says, see ya. And I asked if he was the guy that Florence shot. And then you get, wait, you're wrong. And from there, it almost sounded like an altercation, like an argument between two people. And you got, show off, lies, prick.
That's what I've been called before.
Together, they still don't like each other, and
yeah. I hope they haven't been fighting since the 1800s. That's too long to bicker. But yeah, that's something I actually get a lot, is picking up arguments between them.
They must be married.
They don't. Yeah, I tend to get bickering a lot. I've got several clips like that.
Oh, that's so funny.
So yeah,
that might just be your thing, getting caught in.
Yes. Maybe I'm like a couples therapist.
Everybody kind of finds their thing. Like one of my team members is a child psychologist, and she gets child spirits coming to her all the time.
Okay.
And I for the longest time, I mean, I'm an empath and I'm very sensitive, but not nearly as sensitive, like I said, as the others on my team. And I'm like so jelly because I wish I was, but I'm not. But I knew that there had to be something. And I finally figured out what my gift is. I have a knack for getting, when I sense something and I want to take a picture, I'll take a picture, and I'll get a picture in a mirror or glass. And they're usually really great shots. So you'll eventually figure it out. And maybe it's getting in the middle of arguments. Maybe you're going to be like a ghost.
You're like a ghost couples therapist.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see, Chris, did you get that last one too? That third audio, or no?
What was that? What was that? Did you sing? Did I hear you singing? Like with my ears, not through the device. Did I hear you sing?
I definitely could hear music. I didn't know if it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost sounded more like music than singing, or possibly even like wailing or crying. But I mean, what I heard in the bathroom sounded like singing, and it's faint, but yeah, that was one of the strangest experiences I've had. Just the whole room vibrating. And then
Do
there were a few
people-
things in there too, but they're really soft. So I'm not sure if they're things that are easily heard, but trying to think of some of the things I got in there.
For the
I
people
asked,
that are tuning in, she was using a spirit box. So when you have a spirit box like that, you hear a lot of the static, the white noise, and the stuff that comes through is kind of like the in between. And you have a good ear to listen for it. It comes in really clear, and then sometimes it's not so clear.
sometimes it's not so clear during, and then you go back and you listen to it, and you pick up several things that you didn't notice initially. So I'll take,
Right.
a 30-minute long spirit box video and then bring that home and dissect it. And it's like, it's not just 30 minutes of work, It's like I sit there and listen to the same few seconds over and over and over again to make sure I get it right,
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time it's not crystal clear. Like my favorite one that was crystal clear was at the Lizzie Borden house when we were in the axe murder room. It's like we were not getting anything all night long. It was just static, nonstop static. We were asking questions. We were asking anything we could possibly do. And finally, after about an hour-ish, hour and a half, I don't even remember how long we had the box on. I go, can you just go stand over by the armoire and let me take your picture? And crystal clear in the box, we get nope. And then went static the rest of the night.
So
and that was the only word we got the entire night while we were in that room.
But he let us know he was not interested in talking, not interested in taking pictures.
I'll bet that those spirits get tired of all the attention because that place is.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Now you said you have children. How are your kids with all of this stuff?
They're what?
No, they're funny.
Well, yeah, but they're little characters, yes. But no, they're sensitive too. My daughter's had some experiences. But like I said, the first house that we moved into, and I started noticing things going on and questioning things. She started kind of acting like she was talking to someone in her room when no one was there. She'd run around and play with a friend who wasn't there. And after several months of this, I eventually went and I saw my medium and asked him about it. And, just said, I know we have a little girl in the house. And he said, yeah, I've actually got like 5 in the house. But you're right, one of them is a little girl. And
thank God they weren't all mine.
Then came home and my daughter was sitting there drawing at the table. I didn't say anything to her about it. She had no idea I went to see anybody. And she just voluntarily started telling me about it. And she said, Mom, I have a friend named Ella. I go, yeah? Where'd you meet Ella? She goes, in our house. In our house? She said, yeah, on the stairs. Okay. And then what does Ella look like? And she goes, well, she looks like a zombie, but she's not a zombie. And she says she hurts. Or she said she used to hurt, but she doesn't hurt anymore. And this is coming out of like a 3-year-old kid.
Wow.
So
I'm a firm believer, though, that we should really embrace those gifts and not hide it from the children and not make them feel crazy, that there's anything wrong, that they are special, that not everybody embraces what they have or what they do. And I think it really works well for them to take that with them as they get older.
I think so too.
Bobby J. Gallo, he and his wife, they brought their 2 girls up when they were little. I mean, he'd been paranormal investigating for years. He was like one of the first paranormal investigators back in the 80s. And when the show started coming out, the kids were watching it. And one day he just turns around and he says, Daddy used to do that kind of stuff. And they're like, what? Yeah, I was cool like that. And so they actually started going on trips just like you guys do, paranormal investigating. were really young, and they call themselves the Gallo family ghost hunters, and they've been doing it since the kids were really young. And those kids that had those sensitive gifts have now really grown them and grown into them, and really honed in on what they
All of their
are good,
abilities.
are good at. Yeah, and they have some great footage, video that they've gotten over the years. So I think it's great that you are open to it with your children. I think
Oh,
it's a
absolutely.
good
And,
thing.
growing up too, I know that I would tell my friends about some things that I saw or heard, and, nobody would believe it. And then that's probably why I started questioning
Same,
myself, because,
same.
I was being questioned. So of course I started questioning
Yeah,
myself.
I
So,
never had friends.
yeah. It's a
oh,
different
stop.
world. It's a different world now, thankfully. It's a different world now, thankfully. So,
Yes. Yeah.
and I don't blame my mom for saying, those are just dreams, or it was a
Yeah.
nightmare.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't blame her for that, but I wish she had known differently so that she could say, something might be going on here. But in hindsight, I've learned as I've gotten older, and I guess that's the main thing. At least in this life, I figured it out, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's important for them to know too that, not everything is scary. Not everything is a
Yeah,
demon. So,
right.
they see something at the end of their bed, they don't need to, you know, be terrified.
Exactly. No more
So,
monsters in the closet or underneath the bed.
right.
Well, guys, this was really a lot of fun. I'm so glad that you joined me tonight. Thank you so
Thank you
much for
for
coming
inviting
on.
us.
Thank you for
And
having us.
keep all that fun hunting going on. And if you get any other good stuff and you want to come back on, you're welcome to come back on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Why don't you tell my listening audience how they can find you and any information about your paranormal team?
Sure. So it's just my husband and I as of now, but you can find us on Instagram. Most of our stuff is on Instagram. We're just now getting a YouTube page up, and either on Instagram or YouTube, you can look us up under His and Hearse Paranormal. So like his and hers, but His and Hearse Paranormal. If you look us up on Facebook, you can look us up under Liz Katz. And you'll see our little His and Hers Paranormal logo. Where is that? Yeah,
There you
you'll see
go.
our little logo on there as well.
That's adorable. Love it. Well, thank you once again. You guys have a great night.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
too.
too.
Thank you, Techie Chris. We couldn't do it without you, even with all the technical difficulties we had tonight. If you all like listening to this week's episode and you're into all things paranormal, check out my other show, Eleanor Wagner's Strange and Scary World podcast out of the Paranormal UK Radio Network, or available wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch and listen to the uncut version directly through my Eleanor Wagner YouTube channel. And if any of you are interested in reading any of my books, you can find them on Amazon, but you can get signed copies directly through me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. I write about the history of the town and location, add the paranormal story to the mix, and finish it all off with photos and evidence. And I'm excited to share that I now have t-shirts available from both my Creepin' It Real podcast and Strange and Scary World podcast. Anyone interested in getting one can email me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. Lastly, viewers, tune in on Thursday, November 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when Scaredy Cat Paranormal's Sean Flynn comes on to talk paranormal. Thank you and good night.
I hope you've enjoyed this little journey down my own personal nightmare alley. If you're one of those people who experiences the paranormal and has stories of your own you've been filing away over the years, I want to hear about them. And if you're a part of a paranormal investigative team, even better. I'd love to have you on my show. Got a questionable photo? Send it in. Would love to have an open discussion here amongst the professionals. Reach out to me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. Enjoy our soundtrack music, Headless Horseman by Alexander Nakarada, promoted by freestockmusic.com. And remember, No ghost story is better than a real life ghost story. Until we meet again, make sure you're creeping it real.